This is an audiobook for Time After Time. We do have the print novel as well. It just happened to be checked out when I was pulling my books for this show. Kay Hooper does a lot of psychic romances. This one is not part of that regular series that she's done. It's a reprint from a 1980s romance that she did. And this one has a little bit of a reincarnation element to it. The two characters meet in a very unusual circumstance. There's a blackout in their building, and the gentleman, Noah, is the landlord, and the woman, Alex, is in her apartment in the dark. Noah comes down to make sure that Alex is okay, and the first meeting they have is just their voices, and they end up kind of being attracted to one another from their personalities, and then when the lights come on, they're very pleased to find that they both find each other physically attractive as well. What's particularly interesting about this particular book is that they have these flashbacks from a previous life that kind of makes them have a deja vu sense when they're talking to one another, like maybe they've met each other before, or maybe they'd fallen in love before. So there's the whole element of the contemporary story as well as these flashbacks to the past, and you'll have to read the book to find out whether or not it really was true that they were reincarnated lovers. The next book has a little bit of a paranormal twist to it too. Carly Phillips wrote a series, starts with Lucky Charm. These are a little bit steamy. The stories are all based on three cousins who are all Corwins, and there's a curse for the Corwin family because many, many years ago, a Corwin eloped with someone from another family, and the other family happened to have a witch. And that witch, Ms. Perkins, placed a curse on the Corwins that any love relationship they had was doomed. Well, it's true, or at least the boys believe it's true. Derek won't stay with his childhood sweetheart, Gabrielle, because he assumes he's doomed to have this cursed love. So he marries someone else, they have a daughter, and it doesn't work out. Years later, he meets Gabrielle again, and it's a matter of Gabrielle overcoming the idea of the curse, as well as, kind of the history of, is the curse for real? Does it really exist? There's a little bit of witchcraft element in it. Mostly it's just a good contemporary romance, but there's that other paranormal level that goes all the way through it. It's a really interesting story. Skipping even further into the paranormal, Terry Carey did a book called Dead Girls Are Easy. This is like the Sixth Sense movie, the one that Bruce Willis was in, except it's much lighter and much funnier. Terry has the ability to write these snappy dialogues. The main characters are funny. There's, again, quirky sidekicks, but it's a really interesting book. The main character is Nikki, and she owns a vintage clothing shop. She wakes up in the hospital after being almost dead and meets Dr. Joe for the first time, and of course, falls in love with him immediately. She's afraid to talk to him though because in the room is a ghost, and she has to help this ghost resolve their issues before they're able to pass on into the light. Stories about how the people who have died are trying to get their issues resolved are funny. Nikki's funny, her friends are funny. It's kind of like the zaniness of Mary Janice Davidson's Undead series. A little bit more serious in some parts. It ends up with a voodoo priestess kind of deciding that she wants to have Nikki's soul, but for the most part, really light, fun read about seeing ghosts and helping them resolve their issues. This one was a funny one too. La Vida Vampire by Nancy Haddock. Francesca is a 200-year-old vampire who has been stuck in a crypt, and while she was stuck in the crypt, vampires have come out into society. So when she emerges, she all of a sudden realizes that being a vampire is very accepted, and she's ready to take life by the horns and do all that she can to live life to its fullest. La Vida Loca. She starts a job with a ghost tour company in Florida. She's a big draw because she's a real live vampire, and everybody knows it. But when one of her tour participants shows up dead, she's also the primary suspect for who might have actually killed her. She meets a guy named Deke Saber. I mean, what a name for a hero, Deke Saber. He's a specialist in paranormal crimes, and luckily for Francesca, he's on her side and doesn't believe that she's the one who did the murder, but he promises to protect her 24/7, which means they're together a lot. So it's really good that they fall in love and are actually enjoying being with one another. Changing pace, but still sticking with the paranormal, there's a book by Elizabeth Sinclair called Garden of the Moon. This is another one on our new bookshelf. It's 1850, and Sarah has moved to her grandmother's plantation. all alone with just a few of the servants to help her. Her mother doesn't like the idea that she can see ghosts, and so she wants her out of her home so that her friends don't find out that Sarah has what she considers to be an affliction. Sarah doesn't think it's an affliction, but she does think it's rather unusual when ghosts pop up all the time, and she's able to communicate with them. She sees this one figure of a man over and over again and starts wondering who he is. And as she stays at the house, she realizes that that's the person who was in love with a sister who looked an awful lot like Sarah many, many years ago. What happened was Jonathan was in love with Maddie, but the sister Catherine was the one that was betrothed to Jonathan. A little bit of a love triangle going on. It gets even more confusing when Sarah, who's a real life person, has to deal with the love triangle that's created by the three ghosts. But a really good story. Little gothic, if you like Victoria Holt or Barbara Michaels, you might enjoy something like Garden of the Moon. A little bit darker, because it has to do with a serial murderer, is His Wicked Sins by Eve Silver. It could have started with A Dark and Stormy Night, but it didn't quite. This has a young woman named Beth approaching a boarding house. She's going to be the teacher in this boarding school. And as she's approaching the house, the carriage won't go any further, and so she has to stop at this little carriage stop where no one else is around to wait for one of the caretakers of the boarding school to come and get her. Luckily for her, Griffin Fairfax shows up. Or maybe it's unluckily for her, Griffin Fairfax shows up. He's dark and brooding and maybe a serial murderer. In the course of them meeting each other, feeling attracted to one another, and Beth getting used to her job, there's some scenes in here of the serial murderer and what he's doing. And it's not until the very end that you realize who the murderer is. It's got some graphic scenes of the murder. The love story's good. The murder's a little grisly, but an interesting story if you like the Gothic romances. I'm going to finish up by talking about a few of the historical romances that we have here at the library. This one won an award from the Romance Writers of America a few years ago. It's called Private Arrangements by Sherry Thomas. Like most love stories, the people that were meant to be together have some sort of conflict that keeps them apart. In this case, Gigi and Camden fall in love almost immediately, but Gigi was deceitful, and Camden didn't find out about it until their wedding night. Gigi had pretended that the woman that Camden was betrothed to didn't want him anymore, and so she wrote a letter, which of course the woman who was betrothed didn't write. Camden loved Gigi but couldn't stand the fact that she had lied to him, and so while married, they lived apart. And in some cases, they considered it to be the perfect relationship until Gigi decided that she really wanted to get married again. Camden sees her again to sign the divorce papers, but decides that he really does still care about her. And so they end up having to have this war of wills that keeps them going after one another. Will they get their way? Who's going to get their way? Will they eventually resolve their issues and fall in love? Which of course they do. It's a romance. The next one is Loretta Chase, Lord of Scoundrels. If you like the Beauty and the Beast story, you'd probably enjoy this one. Sebastian Ballister is an ugly man. He's ugly inside and out, although I guess his rugged handsomeness is also part of his appeal, but he had a very poor childhood. Doesn't like people, isn't able to relate well to them, is used to having his own way, and is a very abrupt man. Jessica Trent is young, beautiful. She's the beauty of the Beauty and the Beast part. She's doing everything she can to keep her young brother from going in debt to Sebastian. And of course, in the process of that, they fall in love. And she's able to tame the beast in him. The last book that I want to talk about is Linda Lale Miller's The Man from Stone Creek. If you like Westerns, this is the series for you. This is about Sam O'Balavan. He's an Arizona Ranger, and he has to pose as a school teacher in this small town in order to capture some thieves who have taken some money from a train. It has all the features that you'd expect from a good Western. Train chases, bad guys shooting out at, in gullies with the good guys, horse chases, the school marm idea, the general mercantile idea, and of course the romance on top of it all. One of Sam's worst students has a sister named Maddie, who of course is immediately attracted to Sam, and he's immediately attracted to her, and they fight it until the very end of the story when they're able to realize they're happily ever after. Well, that's all that I have for you today. I just wanted to let you know that you can come by the library at any time, and the reference desk would be more than happy to share bookmarks or read-alikes with you. You can also go to our online site at wrl.org and be able to get suggestions for more romances. The appeal of romance is that you have an emotional attachment to the characters, and we'd be happy to find an attachment for you to enjoy.